The world is saved. The living room's dark, save for light being cast from the big TV screen and the imminent sunrise that's teasing the one starry sky with whispers of morning.
Hey, George.
Hey, Lions, I'm in your house.
Every episode is someone's first episode, and you've now had that joke running for every time we record together.
Yeah,
right?
the one thing that's unfortunate that I think you did on purpose is I am sitting far enough away from you that I can't physically hit you.
No, that's, always. Even, and this is the one episode where, it's in time, right? Like this episode is not an evergreen episode, so we have to maintain 6 foot distance.
Yes.
For podcasting safety.
Yes, absolutely. I don't know if this is a good time. I spit in most of your drinks.
That's why every time I put a cup down, I just leave it there forever. It's just
dead to you.
I don't even wash it and then put a new drink in it. It's when you leave the house, those cups go in the garbage.
That's good. That's probably
and the cups you drink out of go in the fire.
That's that stands to reason.
Yeah. No, this is standard safety protocols. We were doing this before COVID. Nothing to do with.
It's just I don't want your gross spittle touching my things.
Yeah, that's why we only have inexpensive drinking glasses, because just the replacement cycle is really frequent.
This is a podcast about video games, right?
It's not.
All right, sorry, I showed up to the wrong.
My notes are all wrong. Okay, so we're doing a special thing. This is our 2021 year in review.
Yep.
So here are the rules for this episode. Instead of reviewing a game, we are going to do our top 3, bottom 3, and favorite nostalgia goggles pick, or new nostalgia goggles pick from the 2021 year. We spent a couple years debating whether or not first worst or third worst was the worst,
right?
And first best or third best was the best. So it's worst,
yep.
Or least worst.
Middle worst, which is delicious.
And worst. Then our nostalgia pick. We only do one because we only do 3 or 4 a year. And then the least best, middle best, best. So that's what we're doing.
And the other key part of this is that this is how we felt. So whenever we do the episodes, we do it based off of concrete, like we try to pick the game apart and give a legitimate analysis. I did not go back through and re-listen to all of the episodes to make sure I stayed internally consistent. I may have said that the game was awful and was a full nostalgia monocles and it could be the best. It's unlikely because hopefully my memory isn't that shoddy. But this is based about feelings, not about facts.
Yes.
So
which I have in my notes, not about facts, it's about feelings, and it has quotes around it because that is 100% attributed to you.
Oh, yeah?
And I like this because this is something we can't possibly do when we do a regular episode, which is what is the long tail, right? And so transferring from facts to feelings isn't just us being lazy and not going back and redoing the work. This is actually a different kind of analysis from the regular reviews. It is also less work than going back and reviewing 26 games.
To get a true meta-analysis. But this is kind of like our feelings and opinions and kind of a celebration of the games that we loved and kind of a celebration of the games that we hated, And so this is not like if you say, oh, well, they review. If you want to go back and determine whether or not you want to play a game, listen to the actual review of that game. If you just want to say oh, this seemed like they enjoyed it, that's what this is for.
That's exactly right. Before we dive in, we'll do our shilling because year in review episodes don't escape shilling.
No. Money makes the world go round.
Yeah. The reason we have the time and ability to do this is because of you all. But most importantly, the people who subscribe, the people who share with their friends, the people who leave us reviews. You're the people who help make the show spread around. The people who go above and beyond and do crazy things like follow the two of us or the show on Twitter, watch me play some of these games on Twitch, or the real crazies who give us money, they give us money. And so the people who give us money all get the after show. Everybody gets the after show, no matter what level they support us at. But the true crazies, they get shouted out, including on this episode. So we need to give a special shout out to our 8-bit classics, Yarno,
a Mario painter,
Jason,
And Real Monster,
John,
a super patron and castle explorer,
and Kevin.
a maniac of a mansion owner,
And our 16-bit heroes, Michael,
a wanderer of an odd world,
Jacob,
a legendary Mega Man,
and our full 3D supporter, David.
a master musician of an ocarina of time.
Oh, nice. That was a good one.
Thank you.
Yeah. I like the on theme, right? Because they're always on theme, but now you had like so much to pick from.
Yeah. So I actually like went through and a part of me wanted, I didn't do this. A part of me wanted to say like, to make the Easter egg that I only used ones that weren't in my top or worst, you know?
Ooh.
And I was like, I could do it, but I was literally, I'm like, I don't want to.
That's way too much cross-referencing.
Yeah,
that sounds like work, and you're on vacation.
Exactly, I am.
But to that point, let's do a quick summary of the games we played this year. Would you like to engage in a back and forth, or would you like me to ramble this off?
Yeah. Let's do a volley.
You want to do the volley?
Yep.
Okay. So in order that we played these games, nostalgia games included, but not specifically demarcated here, are Altered Beast,
RC Pro Am 2,
Worms Armageddon,
Ninja Gaiden,
Cyber
Gaiden?
Shadow.
Gaiden.
Oh, shit. Wait, no. It's Gaiden.
Got it. So,
Yes.
Yep, Ninja Gaiden.
My brain. Cyber Shadow,
Oddworld, Abe's Odyssey,
Galaga,
Shining Force,
Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of It's Not As Good As People Remember,
Batman, the video game,
Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze.
Real Monsters.
How did you end up getting to do that twice? Twice.
Maybe 3 times, depending if it's on the list, you
It's
know?
True. Azure Dreams,
Mario Paint,
Streets of Rage 2,
Super Castlevania 4,
Doom, parens 2016, close parens,
which was released in 2017, Pokemon Red Blue,
Superman 64,
Mega Man Legends,
Metroid 2, Return of Samus,
DuckTales, woo,
Maniac Mansion,
Portal,
Portal 2.
Dragon Warrior.
I always feel like, oh man, we spend 2 weeks on a game. Some of these review shows only spend a week. And then I remind myself of 2 things. 2 weeks is still not that long, right?
No.
To review an entire game, especially for some of the bigger games. And so it's a lot of work. 1 week, I honestly don't think is enough. And then when we read through the list every year, I'm like, oh, it's still a lot.
Yeah, we played a lot of games. And especially considering that we've now been doing this for 5 years, like it's one of those knowledge bases that sneaks up on you because somebody will say like, oh, something like, I really like classic video games. And then all of a sudden I have accidentally, George and the Rabbit it all over them where I'm like, oh yeah, you like classic video games. Which ones do you want to talk about? And just, they're like, oh man, I'm like, friend. And they're like, I like classic Zelda. Like that's all I wanted to say.
Oh, I'm sorry. This one game
Yeah.
that I played in my cousin's house, and sorry.
But instead, like they just see like the traveling through the obelisk of A Space Odyssey.
The lights.
Yeah, just streaming by.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, so we're gonna start with the bottom 3.
Yes.
So this is the least worst.
Right.
So we'll volley and we'll explain kind of why our feelings, not the facts necessarily, but why our feelings. So for me, the least worst game of 2021 was Metroid 2: Return of Samus, and it's not a Metroid game. Like it's way too linear, right? And I get that at the time they had not yet. Super Metroid is what established what we now think of as Metroidvanias, right? Super Metroid, Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Those are the 2 specific titles that established the formula for Metroidvanias. So I get that this was before that, but even the original Metroid, you had more freedom, you had more kind of backtracking and exploring and experimenting. Metroid 2, super linear. It doesn't have enough music, right? It's quiet to the point of being annoying. Like it's too quiet. It's just, there aren't really interesting challenges. The power-up dispersal is all over the place. Like sometimes you get a power-up and then 2 seconds later, it's completely rendered meaningless by a far superior power-up. It's not fun. There's a remake of this game that's supposed to be really good for people who like being completionists about the Metroid saga, but no.
Well, and on top of that, I think there's something to be said about like the formula had yet to be born, but if you were playing a Metroid game, you expect for it to follow that formula. So even though this is like proto Metroid, it would be like playing Mario Brothers, not Super Mario Brothers,
yes,
right? So if you booted that up and you've played Super Mario World, Super Mario, like all of that, and you boot this up, you're like, this isn't a Mario game.
Yes.
You know?
And you can see the course correction happen is they made Metroid, and then they were like, there's the fork in the road.
Mm-hmm.
And they could have gone the super linear platform shooter, which is Metroid 2, or the crazy backtracking Nightmare Labyrinth that is Super Metroid. And they decided that was what they wanted the Metroid series to be. And for that, I'm personally thankful. But like, going back to this game, if you are a fan of Metroid, is hard because this doesn't feel like a Metroid game, right? So yeah, the least worst, but still on the list.
Yeah, but made the list. For me, least worst was Altered Beast.
Yeah.
And, you know, and mostly the reason why is, again, like, it is the least worst, right? But man, there's just nothing to that game. You know, like the everything about it is what I would say is uninspired, you know, where it's like, I'm sure that the visuals were amazing on the arcade cabinet, but the port is just lackluster. The graphics are kind of garbage. There's no real story. The mechanics are blah. It's kind of frustrating to play. It's not super frustrating to play. It's kind of frustrating to play. And so literally, the thought of playing that game again, I was just like, man, I literally can't think of anything else I wouldn't rather be doing with my time, you know, because it's almost like in movies when somebody's just like, yeah, sometimes I just, you know, burn my fingers to feel alive. It's like, I would rather play a bad game and be upset about it than just have like lost an hour of my life to this. So yeah, is it the worst thing ever? No, but there's just nothing. There's nothing there to play.
Yeah.
You know?
And instead of agreeing with you, I'll move on to my middle worst, which was Altered Beast.
There you go.
So now I can agree with you.
Yeah.
The one thing to me that redeems Altered Beast in my personal lived experience is I associate it with my cousin, and I like my cousin, right? I played it at my cousin's house. So when I think of the game Altered Beast, I think of like, you know, rise from your grave in that grainy 16-bit Genesis sound effect. And yeah, it's so bad. But I associate that with a really fond memory, right?
Right.
So it's almost like type 2 fun, right? Like you go on a serious hike and like you're aching and everything, you're cold and everything's terrible, but then later you remember it fondly. Like, I don't want to play Altered Beast, but I'm happy to continue to remember Altered Beast. But then it's like, you know, I probably have access to this game in 4 different avenues now because it's part of a bunch of Genesis Classics collections that I have on like various consoles and stuff, and even on my PC. So it's like this game is everywhere. Like I could easily in any room in my house sit down and play this game, and no, I'm not going to.
Well, I mean, that's almost definitionally nostalgia goggles, right?
Yes,
I mean, like,
yeah, 100,000%.
Yeah. Like it's like I have nostalgia for playing this, but the actual game itself is completely lackluster. Yep. So for my delicious middle worst, Maniac Mansion. The thing that so you know, and I mentioned a lot of this kind of stuff in the review, but is that like the, you know, put everything onto everything, like again, like it's
throw a baby.
Yeah, so throw a baby. But the literal, like I would rather take a voltmeter and check voltages one by one than do this game, right? Because it's just like, check the connection from A to B, check the connection from A to C, check the connection from B to C, check the connection. I mean, that's all this game is. I mean, like I would rather do it and then have, at the time of it done, have a working piece of electronics than just have hemorrhaged this time. And with the way that I mentally approached it, I can't not just test every single connection, right? And so, and to me, the thing that added insult to injury to this is that it made me irritated at math. And I love math and me go way back. Like I love it, you know.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare
sully our friendship?
Yeah, like just get out of my house. Which is that, you know, is that literally I was sitting there, you know, saying like, okay, well, there's, you know, 5 options of things for you to do, and there's approximately 3 things in each room, and there's 7 rooms, and as I'm tacking a number onto each, normally doing that type of arithmetic is fun. Like literally earlier today, you asked what would happen if Neptune orbited the sun at the same, you know, in 1 Earth year, and I was like, ooh, this will be fun. And so I like looked up the distance that Uranus travels, and all of a sudden I was like, oh man, there was an easier way to do this, and it was just to multiply Uranus's current speed by 145, which is its current year. But all of that I found fun. But as I was tacking on each multiplier to this, it wasn't like Super Saiyan where you get to have fun adding the multipliers. It was making me angrier every single time that somebody did this to everyone. So
it was like stacking Majins.
Yes, yeah, and I was like, no, I don't like this. So yes, that is why it was my middle worst.
Yeah, and that the worst thing about Maniac Mansion for someone who's never played it is the game loop of feeling clever and trying weird things to solve problems is super satisfying. And it's just a really, fish with legs level of sophistication. So it's like, this kind of game can be super fun. This game requires nostalgia goggles. Like, yes. I struggled to not put that one on my list because I do have nostalgia goggles for it. And this episode is about feelings, not facts.
Right.
So I associate Maniac Mansion with my older brother. So it's like, okay, factually, this game sucks butts.
Yeah.
But feelings-wise, I don't really have any hostility toward it.
I will say if you do want to imbibe this game, what I would recommend is going on to YouTube and just watching a video of it, because like some of the weird, like, throw baby in lake is amazing. Like when all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, you put thing A into thing B and then the car takes off to the moon. So imagine like queuing up a YouTube video of somebody playing this and then just having a beer with a friend and giggling over some of the weird stuff there, like that I could enjoy.
Yeah, because the humor's good, right? The world is interesting.
Yeah, but
here's a pro tip for you. If you look up a Let's Play, that usually involves the streamer, right? The player is part of the presentation. They talk and they make comments and stuff. If you want just a recording of the entire game, but not anyone like interacting with you, those are usually under the title of long play. Here is the entire game from start to finish, just as if you were sitting there watching the TV silently. So that's, if you're like, oh, I want to consume, like Metal Gear Solid's great for that because it's basically a movie, right? So you could watch a long play of Metal Gear Solid and just treat it like watching a 20-hour television show, right? But then you don't have assholes like us making commentary the whole time.
Yep. So that was my middle worst.
And it's super legit, super legit. So for my worst, I had to give it Superman 64.
Yeah, you did.
I had to give it Superman 64 because
it's bad. And this is also my worst, so we can just do this at the same time.
So it's bad, and its only redeeming quality is making fun of it.
Yes.
And I am now getting old enough and hopefully mature enough that I don't always feel great doing that. Like just crapping on something that people worked on, even if it was a soulless cash grab, which I don't know that it was, but even if it was a soulless cash grab, it's just like, yeah, but people worked on it. I bet the guy who ran the mailroom at that studio didn't feel like it was a soulless cash grab he was contributing to, right? So like it's bad. There's no redeeming qualities. It's not, you can't get anything interesting from a game design perspective. Like if you're trying to become a game designer, it's not even like a B movie where you could point and laugh at it because you have to press buttons, right? You can point and laugh at a bad movie, but books and video games require like active participation on your part. And so it's hard to say, oh, we're going to play this game and make fun of it, because it's a lot of work to make fun of something a bunch of people worked on.
Oh yeah.
So it's terrible. It has basically zero redeeming qualities except being like a whipping boy. So, also, I don't like what they did to my boy.
Yeah.
Like, that's my boy.
Yeah. Right. I mean,
you are literally wearing a Superman shirt right now.
Yes. Yeah. We both have throughout our entire friendship, like we both love Superman. Right. And I've had literally this weekend, I had a discussion with somebody where, they said like, yeah, just Superman's so OP. I don't really find him interesting as a character. I'm like, you've only read garbage Superman stories. And here's why. I was like, because the point of Superman isn't whether or not he can punch harder. It's if you can solve every problem, should you? And what does that look like? So if you are infinitely strong and you can use your strength to do anything, now what do you do? Right. And so to see it then reduced to this like horridly broken game that again doesn't distill that out of Superman. Right. So like, again, this game is about, can you punch through stuff? And it's like, that's not what Superman's about. We've discussed what a good Superman game would be, which would be that you can fly nearly infinitely fast, but if you do that and you run through people, like that's an issue. You have two objectives that you need to complete. Which one do you pick? Right? Like those would be great Superman things. This game not only completely misses the boat thematically on Superman, but it misses it then like in so this is tangential, but we have been speaking this weekend on a difference between understanding the concept of what is trying to be done and then flubbing execution.
Yes.
Right? This does both.
Yes.
It doesn't even understand what you need to try to do, and then what it tried to do, which was wrong, it completely screwed up in execution. You know?
Betrays the source material and fails to be a playable game.
Correct. Yeah. So
because you could argue the Batman game we played for Game Boy is like, is it very Batman-y? No, it's a platformer wearing Batman cosplay, but it's at least a serviceable platformer.
Right. They executed on what they tried to do. Right. I mean, this is the Dragon Ball evolution of video games, right? Try to reimagine the source material and then completely screwed up the execution of it, right?
Yeah.
You know, and that might be the meanest thing I've ever said about a video game. Is that it's the Dragon Ball evolution of video games, right? But that's honestly what it is. And to your point, I think that you hit the nail on the head where it's like it has no redeeming value. There is just literally, and I did this to us, you know, but like. The only reason that I wanted to play this game, the only reason to play this game is if you have been doing video game reviews for a long time and this is on your completionist list. Like you feel in order to be a video game reviewer, you have to have reviewed this, then do it.
Which is essentially what we did.
That's what we did.
Right? It was like similar to what we did with Jekyll and Hyde, right?
Yeah.
It's like we know we're going into a terrible experience. The challenge is, are we sophisticated enough critics to understand what is broken?
Right.
Because my 5-year-old could play it for 2 seconds and be like, this is not fun. I don't like this. Right. But she wouldn't be able to explain why. Right.
And so I think that the thing that I said, I believe in the episode, but I'd like to repeat here, which is that the game, I did not want to play Superman 64. I wanted to have played it.
Yep.
And now we have.
Yeah, now we have. Thank God time marches ever onward. So for our nostalgia game, just to do a quick recap, we only play usually 3 or 4 of these a year. It's about once a quarter. So we pick just our favorite out of the lot. We also have, I don't remember if we did this the first year, but we've done it for several of these now. We give away a nostalgia game. Mm-hmm. And the fun of this is we don't know what the other person picked. If we picked the same game, that's the game we're giving away.
Yep.
If we picked different games, then you get to pick from the nostalgia games, right? So my nostalgia game for 2021 of the games we played was Portal 2.
Nice. So mine, and so here's the thing, is that Megan asked me 3 months ago, what are you going, like right after we, or maybe 2 months ago, but right after we played Portal 2, she's like, what are you going to pick for, you know,
that or Doom?
That or Doom.
Right. Because for me, it was between this and Tropical Freeze.
Right. And she was like, what are you going to pick? Because I mean, like, I thought really, really highly of Doom, and I fought for that game for us to play it for years.
Literally
right?
years.
Yeah. But then Portal 2 is so great. So I have literally been like the gif of like drinking at the bar for months now, because Megan brought this up long before this. I've just been, and so, you know what I decided? You both. I want both. So I am not going to pick. Both of them were amazing. So no, because like I honestly, like, they are, and the thing that the only pure shred of dignity that I can put to this giant I'm not going to pick moment is
this episode's about feelings, and you're being very non-scientific.
That they're both first-person shooters. So I'm picking the first-person shooters. But the reason why I think that that's fascinating is because no one would say, you liked Doom? Why don't you try Portal? Oh, you really liked Portal. I think Doom's right up your alley, right?
That's fair.
But I think that they both... So the one is, it really shines a glaring light on the fact that the way that we categorize video games is terrible, right? But I think that they both do what they're setting out to do just almost perfectly, you know? So I was just kind of like, because, you know, if I really, 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 like, you know, gun to my head, I'd probably give it to Portal 2 just because it's more approachable to more audiences, you know? Like, so if somebody asked me for 100 recommendations, I could recommend Portal 2 like 70 times and Doom 30 times because of the people I could recommend Doom to. But I mean, honestly, if somebody said like, I am looking for the thing that Doom does, I'm like, then Doom's your game.
Doom does Doom the best Doom.
Yeah. And there's like almost, despite them both being first-person shooters, there's almost zero overlap between them. You know, if like, you know, if somebody said like, I want thing A, I would never say you could go with Portal 2 or Doom. It's one or the other.
And I think it's people who work in games or who are big gamers, they love to argue about like how utterly garbage and useless genres are.
Yes.
Especially in the modern era, right? Because everything's a Metroidvania, deck building, roguelike with platforming, RPG elements, right? I mean, Madden,
Open world.
Madden has RPG elements.
Yes.
Right. So like, what is an RPG in a universe where Madden has RPG elements? Right. So to think of genres as like, oh, I can recommend anything in the genre because this person likes this genre, like has totally collapsed in the last like 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
But I do think it's interesting to, from a game design perspective, to think of them as almost like tools or vehicles. Like this story or this narrative or this these mechanics are told using the vehicle of a first-person shooter, right? Because Portal is a narrative-driven puzzle game that uses you're riding in a first-person shooter to get there, right?
Yeah.
But Pokemon Snap, also a first-person shooter on rails, right? But those three games could not have less overlap, and yet they all arrived in a Honda Civic, right? They're all here in the same car, but they have nothing to do with each other.
Yep.
And that was actually the reasoning. So you used that to cheat.
Yes,
that was
I did.
That was the same reasoning that I used to not pick Tropical Freeze, because of the kinds of, like, if you look at a collectathon platformer, right, there are a lot more collectathon platformers to choose from. So if someone said, oh, I've played, Banjo-Kazooie, I've played some of the 3D Marios, I've played the Rayman games, like, do I have to play Tropical Freeze? I would say, no, you don't have to, but you would probably love it. Like, it's a really well executed one of those. Right. But if someone said, oh, I really love puzzle games and games that have like a rich narrative and interesting worlds, I would be like, you must play Portal 2.
Yes.
There are fewer artifacts in the world like Portal 2 than there are things like Tropical Freeze, even though Tropical Freeze is a 10 out of 10 execution of what it is. There's just more of them, right?
Interesting.
So that was what, even though like personally, I would love to tell people like, you must go play Tropical Freeze, but it's like, if I have a gun to their head and I only have enough time to force them through one game, I'm going to force them through Portal 2. So what do we do now? Is the giveaway for Portal 2 or is the giveaway for Portal 2 and Doom?
So I think, honestly, I think that you won me over. Like, I think that I think Portal 2. No, because I think that because to your point, right, is that though Doom 2016 is a perfect execution and callback to original Doom, if somebody said like, I can only play one game, it's like Doom is similar to like Call of Duty, like in its like kind of, it's got the hyperviolence and it's got like the different music and all sorts of stuff, but it is a different flavor of that type of game. But if somebody said like, I have a gun to their head and I have to pick one game for them to play, it's gonna be Portal 2. So Portal 2.
Yay. Okay, so Portal 2 is the giveaway game.
Yep.
There will be a link in the show notes. We don't always put a lot of stuff in the show notes. There's stuff you can always find us in the show notes, but there will be a link in the show notes to the form you got to fill out to enter for a chance to win Portal 2. There are no requirements. You don't have to do anything except fill out the form, but there's a nice little list of stuff at the beginning of the form. Like if you want to tweet about us, if you want to leave us a review, there's a direct link to do that. So this is all honor system. We're not making people jump through hoops because that's Superman 64. So this is just, if you want a chance to win a copy of the game, win a copy of the game. If you want to do something nice to spread the good word about Nostalgia Goggles, also please do that, but you don't have to enter the contest. Top 3?
Yeah, man, we're through the looking glass. Like we did it.
Sure, yeah, we're past.
Yeah,
I like having the nostalgia in the middle.
It's like a palate
wash. Yeah, it's palate cleanser.
Yeah. It's like that was all trash. Yeah. Now let's talk about that. And honestly, this Nostalgia Goggle discussion, I think, was like more robust because most of the time it's just us gushing over this. Oh my god, we played this amazing game. Like, wasn't this game amazing? But like, this was like,
Yeah, the giveaway contest was born out of us gushing about Celeste.
Yes.
We decided during the gushing, we want to give copies of this.
I remember you literally paused the recording and said, "Oh, we can do this," and I was like, "Yeah, no, we should." And honestly, I'd still go play Celeste. But no, I think that I think that the discussion on kind of genres and all that sort of stuff was good. So yeah, man, what do you got? Your least best, your number 3.
Yeah. So my least best for 2021, I actually picked Mario Paint because are there better games? Is that game even arguably a game? Like there's a lot of discussion that could happen there. but I had such a good time replaying that in a way that was genuinely unexpected. Like, I knew I had big, thick old nostalgia goggles for that game. I loved it. My childhood best friend and I became friends over that game because he had it and he shared it with me. Right. So like that game has a deep place in my heart, but I've continued to like draw and dabble with music and stuff into adulthood. So I still like the kind of creative activities that game gave me access to when I was a kid. And sitting down and playing it, I streamed a bunch. I made like my little animation and stuff. And so I was like talking to chat and kind of doing some art and having fun with it. And I was like, I could not in my wildest dreams have imagined that I would enjoy this as much in my 30s as I did in my like elementary days, right? That was a shocking and like delightful little like, oh, this is the feeling I wanted, right? Like, is it a game? Is it a good game? Like, this episode's not about facts. Like, right. I got the feeling, because that's so rare.
Right.
It's so rare to say, I remember this thing and it was great. And then to say like, I don't know, is it good? I don't know, maybe, but I feel the way I was hoping to feel. So I was like, I got to put it on the list just for that.
Well, I think that's actually really, really important. I mean, it's kind of like, because to your point, right, that is a very, very difficult feeling to capture. I mean, it would be literally like, could you imagine, and how much money would you pay to one year in the next 5 years before you even die, right? To come downstairs on Christmas Day and feel like you did when you were a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember and I think I've even told the story before. It's like, I remember the Christmas where I got Final Fantasy VII, right? Because we didn't do big bombastic Christmases. So like usually the game I wanted was like my big present. So like the year that I got Final Fantasy VII, my mom specifically did not put it under the tree so that I would not like go and find it. And then she forgot to take it out of her closet. So I opened all my presents, did not find Final Fantasy VII, and then was like, I was like 14, right? So I'm like trying to stay calm and not be visibly upset. My parents didn't or couldn't get me the gift I wanted. And then my mom was like, oh my God, and like goes and grabs it and brings it out, right? And like, because I can now buy my own video games, like that moment will never come for me again. And like, in some ways that's great. Like that's a fantastic problem to have, is that I can buy myself the things that I like. But as a kid, that like feeling of my mom went out of her way to get this thing for me that is going to bring me years and years and years of joy, right? Like that's an incredible feeling. How many people our age have very, very sad Saturday and Sunday mornings because they desperately try to have a Friday night, like the Friday night they had when they were 22, right? Like trying to recreate the past is a really hard thing to do. So the fact that I was able to like pluck that one-to-one happiness experience out of Mario Paint, I was like, good on you, Mario Paint.
Well, and I think that too, then the takeaway for the listeners would be that if you've never played Mario Paint, should you go back and play Mario Paint?
Probably not.
But if you liked playing Mario Paint as a kid, it holds up. If you have the nostalgia goggles, like those nostalgia goggles do hold up. Like you will enjoy it as much as you did when you were a kid, which is that ain't nothing.
Yeah.
My least best was Pokemon Blue. You know,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
Say more words.
say more things. So I really, you know, like kind of similarly where I just remembered really having a blast and enjoying it as a kid. And then this game is a turn-based RPG. And I have said I don't like turn-based RPGs anymore. And I really enjoyed playing this game. So it did two things. One is that it's a turn-based RPG that I enjoy, you know, so that's kind of nice. But two is one of the things that I really like about this game is it actually caused me to really reflect on what it is I don't like about turn-based RPGs, you know?
So it sharpened your taste.
Correct, right. So I could say like, you know, when I was like, oh, and again, like when I was trying to crap all over a turn-based RPG, as I was just kind of like, well, it does this and it does this. And I'm like, but Pokemon does all of that. And again, too, is that like, it's not even that, you know, one of the things I said in an earlier episode was, oh, well, the reason why I don't like this old turn-based RPG is because the visuals are such trash. You know, like I like enjoying the new visuals. And that's why I like Pokemon Sword, is because like it's so much more robust and beautiful, right? But then I went back and played Pokemon Blue and I loved that again too. And I was like, no, that's not it. You know, so it just really forced me to introspect and kind of say like, all right, this is what I like about this game. But honestly, yeah, as I was going through and playing it, I just really enjoyed honing my collection, throwing some levels at some things, watching them evolve, building out my roster. It was fun.
So my middle best is Pokemon Red. For, again, shockingly, like the same kind of reason, which is I didn't play Pokemon when I was a kid, right? I didn't have a Game Boy at that time, so I just missed the whole trend. Even though I had access to it, like I had friends that probably would have let me play theirs, but I just missed it, right? The idea of the collectible card game and the cartoon and stuff, there was enough around it that I was like, this is overwhelming. And then as 20-something, I went back and I was like, okay, I'm going to acquire and play through Pokemon Yellow, because Pokemon Yellow is the red-blue, super game. The character is named Ash. You have the Pikachu, right? So it's like, this is the one, like this. If I can't do this, there's no way I could jump into any of the later stuff. Even though I know they've tried to like retcon and make stuff approachable for a new generation, but I was like, I'm old. I need to go back and try that. So playing through Pokemon Red this time taught me that the reason I bounced off this game is not because I didn't have access to a Game Boy. It's because I didn't understand the game is talking about the game. Like playing Pokemon, the game of Pokemon is the interaction with other Pokemon players. It's why I actually got some mileage out of Pokemon Go on my smartphone when that was new, right? Because it was a thing that I participated in, not a game I was playing, right? For me, games are almost exclusively individual, like introspective experiences, right? I played a lot of JRPGs. I don't really care for playing online and stuff. But when I played this time, I streamed my entire playthrough. I didn't play any of it by myself, which means, you and I were not connecting link cables, but I got that. I got people telling me in chat, like, oh, this is, there's like a rare Pokemon here. Like, oh, if you get this one, this is actually a really good one to carry you for a long time, because then you don't get more powerful Pokemon till later. And like, I got that kids on the playground experience. And I was like, this is why I couldn't enjoy this game the first time, because I didn't know I needed that, right? It's like a key ingredient in a recipe. It's like, yeah, you can leave it out, but it changes everything, right?
Well, it's one of its core aesthetics, which you wouldn't think of with this game, is because you think of it as like, oh, core aesthetic is challenge. It's community, you know? Like,
and they do try to tell you, because there's NPCs in world that do the link cable thing with you. They try to be like, go have friends.
Go
like,
outside.
They are trying. And to your point about like, this taught you about JRPGs and like what you need out of a JRPG to enjoy that experience. This taught me what I need in games that are supposed to be social. Choosing to not engage with the social aspect basically means you're choosing not to play the game and enjoy it. It's really hard, not impossible, but really hard for me to go to a game and carve that chunk out and then still find the rest of the game enjoyable. So now my taste for those kinds of games have been sharpened. Like I've started playing a game with my team at work. We have like a little social hour, and it's a game you can play by yourself, to Rocket League. It's a game you can play by yourself, but it's way more fun to play when I can hear them cursing and laughing, and like, it's a social experience, right? It's GoldenEye, right? It's, I don't want to play Street Fighter 2 alone, but I will play with other people. I don't want to play Pokemon alone, but I did realize I can actually play this if I'm engaging in the social experience, because I like the JRPG mechanics, but you need that social experience salt. And that was like, oh my God, because I thought Pokemon was just not for me.
But no, it's that you needed to participate in the community, right? Like, so it's kind of like, I mean, for me personally, it's very much like Dungeons and Dragons, right? It's like, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons because I care deeply about the D&D lore or the mechanics or anything like that. I play it because it's the thing that I use to participate with the friends. It's like the bonding factor. You know?
Why are we all sitting around this table talking? Because we're playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Because it's the thing that we're doing. It's the excuse that we have to sit around this table. So for me, my middle best.
Don't go back to the sad times.
No. My middle best is Ocarina of Time.
Middle best.
Yes.
I mean, just the anticipation now.
for now, the best, right? Yeah. This is the big reveal. No, I mean, and so for all the obvious reasons, right? I mean, I played the ever-loving crap out of it as a kid. Like, and as I said on the podcast, like, I played so much of this game that I could walk somebody through it over the phone. I had spent many hours literally just sitting on my bed and thinking about planning and hoping that if Hollywood would make this into a movie. I now know this would make a terrible movie. Like, there's just not enough here and Hollywood kind of sucks at making video game movies in general, and this would not be an easy plug, right? I mean, like, and even if they were try to make it into a miniseries, which they seem to be getting the hang of, I mean, we have at least 2 successful examples, I think, which is The Witcher and Arcane. So it's like, hey, not an isolated incident anymore, and thank God Henry Cavill got to be part of something that wasn't a trash fire. Speaking of terrible Supermans, oh snap! Anyways,
he was a good Superman. He was in bad Superman movies.
Correct. Yes. No, agreed 100%. Which is why, like, when I heard Henry Cavill is going to be in The Witcher, I'm like, dude,
no,
you poor man. And then it's actually good. So I say all that to say, I absolutely love this game. When I played through it again, all of that nostalgia feeling just came right back. I mean, again, I had a notebook where I actually wrote down all of the songs. You can't not recreate that, right? So yes, that was that was my middle worst.
Did I convert you on Ocarina to you also would still recommend to play the remake?
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. No, I mean
that's my victory.
Yeah. No, I mean, because again, there's nothing, if you play the 3DS version, the remake, right? Nothing's lost. Like it's not like, oh well, in the original, the original does this thing that the new one doesn't do, or there's this, certain je ne sais quoi about playing the old one. It's like the new one, all it does is have better graphics and just sands off some of the things that are the most annoying about the game. They take away the reasons why you don't want to play it. Like, I mean, literally, I had to like take a deep breath when I got back to the water temple, and it would not have been as bad if I didn't have to go in and change out my boots manually. It would have still sucked. It still wouldn't have been fun, but just the being able to shave off that, like, half a second every single time of going through and doing that. Absolutely. So yes, if you do play it, play through the remake.
Okay. So, for best, Portal.
Yeah.
It's Portal.
Yeah, it's Portal.
Yeah, it's Portal. So here's the thing. I had a feeling we were both I knew Portal would be in our best for this year, right?
Yeah.
And maybe like an all-time list, right? So, I mean, it's a really good game.
It's a good game.
I do think it's unfortunate that it's like Portal came into our lives and it came into the podcast life like under an umbrella of regret. It was like, oh, whoops, this game is way newer than we thought. Let's somehow make that okay by also playing Portal 2 for nostalgia goggles. And then for it to then fall onto the list, it's like, oh, that's rough for it to be in a competition against Batman the video game for the Game Boy.
Right?
Like that's stiff, right? But that's the nature of, one, just the randomness of what we play every year, and two, getting to indulge in feelings. It's like, oh, is it a fair competition? No, it's not about fairness. I don't care.
Yeah.
I like Portal way, way more than I like Batman the video game. Yeah. I like Portal way, way more than I like Mega Man Legends or Azure Dreams. Even though I like those games, like I like Portal way, 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 way more. So having it come in, maybe it turned 18 right at the end of the season, so technically it shouldn't be playing junior sports anymore. It should be moving into like farm leagues. But you know what? It finished its season and it got to play against kids who were not as old or strong or ready to be professional athletes. I don't care.
Yeah.
I love this game. I think everyone should play it. I think some of you should try and win Portal 2 in the contest and then buy Portal 1 for like $10 or whatever it goes for now, and then play the trilogy. Like I recommend you play Portal 2, Portal 2 co-op, right? That's like, do that.
Yeah.
Go do that now.
Yeah, right now. And so basically, co-sign everything you just said is that, when I was sitting there, and one is that when we were kind of going back through like the, best, worst, best, like this last year, we had some bangers on this list,
some real bangers.
Yeah. So like the best was like pretty tight competition. And so, I was like, all right, obviously Legend of Zelda is going to be in there for me. Right. So I like, and because I do a Google Keep list, like I can just move them around. So I just put the names in there first. And so I'm sitting there staring at like Zelda and Portal 2 or Zelda and Portal. I'm like, and I was like, you know what? Honestly, because like you said, it's about feelings. But I mean, I would be remiss to say that if somebody again said like, which game should I play? Ocarina of Time or Portal? Hands down Portal. Every time. And the thing is, it's like, because you know what it is it's, if somebody came to me and said, which should I watch? Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Z Abridged? Dragon Ball Z Abridged every time, right? Because they're not 16, you know? They're not picking it up at 14. They're not going to go into the swimming pool with their friends after school and fire Kamehamehas at themselves, right? You know, like they're not going to do all that sort of stuff, right? Like I love Legend of Zelda because of when it came into my life, and I'll never lose that. But Portal is not only a good game, I think it's an important game, you know, because it shows to me the degree to which we can teach through video games, right? Because if you can literally teach somebody, even at our age, to completely upend the way that physics works, and then they can just pick it up and play it. My 6-year-old can play this game. You and I can play this game, and people older than us can play this game. It is infinitely approachable and valuable to play, you know?
Well, and this is, I think, an interesting idea of you have strong feelings, but it's, I think, at least partially for you with this game, is like, which feelings do I think are necessary to share?
Right.
Like, you don't have to share your feelings about Ocarina of Time to feel like you did that game justice, but you feel like Portal is worth sharing, right?
Yes.
It's worth like proselytizing for. Like, you have to go out and knock on people's doors and be like, you know, hey, good morning. Do you have a minute to talk about GLaDOS? Right. And I agree with you. This is the same way we felt about Celeste, right? It's like no, but really go play this.
Yeah. And so normally, like I in the episode and you know, like I like try to take a note somewhere throughout the thing about like something I can say that's like fun and quippy that like kind of like either bookends or calls back to a thing. But honestly, it's been a great year doing the podcast, and go out and play some video games.
The curtain falls, the music plays, the credits roll, then it all fades to black, and you're left by yourself. The fanfare is gone. There's no player 2 there by your side to share victories won. But as you slowly progress down the hall to your bed, a few great events leak back into your head from the time that you spent traversing the land, battling evil, fighting the darkness, just sword in hand. Your memories creep in with the edge of a smile. You realize again what you lost for a while. You're gonna think back much less on how you saved the day.